What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the single type cup running Lycanroc Midnight form, which might be one of the most underrated Pokemon in this meta, having nearly the perfect coverage for the common picks, with counter to hit those normal types and Umbreon for super effective damage, Psychic Fangs for the poisons and fighters, and Crunch for the ghosts and psychic types. Granted, they are all non-stab charge moves and fast moves, so you don't necessarily straight up beat all of those types, but it gives you a lot of play as a save swap, and that's exactly what you want. The rest of the team is basically a B-Tech version of the Human Catcher Bug team with a Ghost lead and a Fighter in the back, but instead of Kofagrigus and Shadow Machamp, I've got Shadow Dusclops and a Purified level 50 Machop. Just a reminder that this weekend is the Go Battle weekend, so of course I'm running the Battle of Spies competition once again. The submissions are already open, so if you don't want to wait until the weekend, you can go ahead and submit your spicy battle right now. Let me tell you, I've only received about 12 submissions so far, but these are literally some of the craziest teams I've ever seen assembled, so you're really going to have to up your game if you want to win. To find out more about the competition and to submit your entry, visit the link in the description down below, and with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. What do you think is the best save swap in the single type cup meta? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we lead Shadow Dusclops into Umbreon. Of course, not a very good matchup, so we save swap into Lycanroc, and we bait out a Clefable. Now, Clefable isn't one of the typings that I mentioned in the intro here that we do manage to deal 4 super effective damage, but it actually doesn't matter. You're going to see that Counter and Psychic Fangs is seriously going to start adding up, and we've already grabbed their shield, debuffed them by 2 stages before they threw a Meteor Mash. Now, they did overfarm, and that will allow them to reach another Meteor Mash, but I'm hoping that if I shield here, I should just be able to fully counter, farm them down from this range, and we get the farm down. We flip switch advantage. We are down a shield, but that's fine with me. We have flipped the matchup, and now we've got our Machop aligned to the Umbreon. They actually come back in with the Umbreon, knowing that Crunch isn't going to do much damage, and hoping that I was just not running Stone Edge, and luckily for them, I'm not running Stone Edge, but we've already got the Umbreon very low, and I'm going to let the Lycanroc go down, of course. No point swapping out. We're now going to come in with the Machop, and they've got a Muck in the back. Now, this is a little bit tricky, as of course they will be running Dark Pulse, but I should be able to live it from just a regular Muck. They actually go for Thunder Punch there, which is very interesting. Perhaps they're not running Dark Pulse, perhaps they've got Acid Spray, so now I'm just going to commit to the Poltergeist. I should just about live a Thunder Punch from this range, but it's actually a Sludge Wave, so very interesting moveset from this opponent, but now I can make it to the return in time, and this return is going to be taking out the Muck, and now it just depends, does this Umbreon have a Psychic, or is it running Last Resort? They actually go for the foul play there, thinking they probably wouldn't make it to a charge move. They were probably right. We do make it to the Cross Chop. Cross Chop takes out the Umbreon, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Shadow Muck in the lead. Now I'm going to stay in this matchup initially, and I'm going to farm until the Poltergeist before I do throw my energy, but I will bait with an Ice Punch, and likewise my opponent baits with a Thunder Punch, so they should actually just about be able to outpace me to the next charge move if they do commit to the Dark Pulse, and we do lose the CMP tie. I'm just going to call that they're baiting here, and unfortunately it is the Dark Pulse, but that's fine. I can come in with my Lycanroc, over farm by 1, go for the Psychic Fangs, and this should be enough damage to take them out from this range, and we actually grab the final shield, so I'm happy to commit a shield as well. It looks like they are quite weak to the Lycanroc here. They actually come in with Clefable, so what I'm going to do is swap out and catch the Meteor Mash onto my Machop. All shields are down, so typically this would be really bad for my team, but I'm able to make the catch, and there's no point going for a Cross Chop here. This just allows them to farm me down, so I do commit to the return. They commit to the farm down, and we actually simultaneously KO after return, doing big damage to Clefable. They come back in with the Muck. I'm going to overfarm as much as possible, go for a Psychic Fangs here, and this will be enough to take out the Muck. What do they have in the back? It's a Registeel, so we get off the Crunch as soon as possible, hoping for the debuff. We get the defense drop, and now we can make it to another Crunch in time. I'm hoping this is going to be enough damage to take out the Registeel. It barely doesn't take them out, but one more counter does, and we get the farm down just as they make it to a charge move, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, another Umbreon in the lead. We're going to swap into Lycanroc, and we do bait out Mark, and I'm going to go for that Psychic Fang straight away. Of course, they're going to know it's not a Stone Edge. They don't have to shield it, but I'm going to get to a second Psychic Fangs before they make it to a first charge move. Sorry, I am just speaking so quickly that I've forgotten how to talk. But here we're going to shield up the Dark Pulse, and now we will easily outpace them to the next charge move. Going to go for it straight away just to make sure, and this Psychic Fangs will be taking switch advantage from this Muck, and that's great because once again we can align the Machop to the Umbreon, and they actually come back in with the Umbreon. What I found was a very common third pick with this team was actually a Ninetales, which also has a pretty bad matchup up against the Lycanroc because of the rock typing resisting all the fire type damage. But here we're going to come in with the Shadow Dusclops. Gonna let this first move go through. It is a Weather Ball, and unfortunately we lose the CMP tie here, so I'm actually going to commit a shield in this matchup. And now I'm going to undercharge this Poltergeist because I don't want this Umbreon to get a big farm, but they do end up shielding up anyways. We now make it to an Ice Punch in time, and this will do some nice chip damage. It should put them into cross chop range, which we're able to get there before they make it to an Overheat, and from this range it will take them out. And now, once again, does this Umbreon have the Psychic here? We're about to find out. No, it's just a last resort, and that's absolutely fine with us now. We can commit to the return here, even though Cross Chop is super effective. Return will be doing big damage, taking out the Umbreon, and I'm able to take that game. So you could say that we got pretty lucky that Umbreon hasn't been running Psychic in those two battles, but also you kind of just... I know, it's just what people are running. If you're on Psychic, then you're very weak to other Umbreons. So we're going to stay in this lead matchup here, and the opponent swaps into Vigoroth, so this is very likely the Human Catch-a-Bug team. Now this is a bit tricky because typically my team basically loses against his team one-on-one. So I'm going to swap into my Machop here, and we were able to catch the Bulldoze, which is massive. I'm now going to go for a CMP tie, throwing the Cross Chop as they make it to Body Slam. And the opponent just lets the Vigoroth go down. They've already got a shield advantage here, so they're going to be able to get a very nice farm down up against my Machop, which is not ideal whatsoever, and they know they can easily no-shield this. Cross Chop does absolutely nothing. It actually gave them some HP there. And we're going to wait at the switch clock, go for an Ice Punch bait straight away, hoping to grab a shield, and then I'm going to swap into my Lycanroc, and I'm hoping they go for a Dark Pulse here, and that I got the counter through, so I should be able to make it to a Psychic Fangs into the Machamp that comes in, but no, we don't get there, and that's basically game over, unfortunately. I should really no-shield this, but honestly, a Cross Chop's still going to do a decent amount of damage, and it would put us into farm down range for them. I'm going to undercharge this Ice Punch, making sure I get one extra Hex through, but it just does not matter. We need to make it to back-to-back charge moves. We're not able to get there, and I do unfortunately lose that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see a Cast Form in the lead. This is not ideal because I can't save swap into my Lycanroc, but then if they've got something that's good against like fighting types in the back, then I'm kind of screwed. So I'm going to full send the Poltergeist here, really hoping they let it go through, but they don't. And now they should have been able to commit to the farm down, but they don't. They throw their energy, and I'm fine with that. I'm now going to come in with Machop, and I don't think a Cross Chop will take them out from here. So I'm actually going to overfarm. There's no point throwing straight away because if it doesn't take them out, they still get off the charge move, and then I don't get any extra energy. So I'm now going to go for the Cross Chop. This will be taking out the Rainy Cast Form. They come in with a Rapidash. I'm going to go and bait with a return here, going for a Cross Chop instead, and we do grab the final shield from the opponent. They've got a Registeel in the back. Now this is looking fairly promising here, but I've still got to be very careful about my energy management. We go for the Crunch, grabbing the debuff as well, and at this point I should be able to shield once. They're running Flash Cannon, so no debuff. Can we get the counter farm down? We get the farm down, but we would have lost the CMP tie here, or at least I believe we would have, so I didn't throw my energy, and instead I'm going to be able to just barely make it to a return, throwing 4 Karate Chops, maximizing the damage output first, and return takes out the Rapidash, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into the next game, another Umbreon in the lead. So going to swap into our Lycanroc, and this time the opponent's staying in. Now, if they stay in, it's actually not that ideal for me because, of course, my charge moves are not going to do much damage at all, but usually they do panic and they swap into something else. But here I'm actually going to have to use a shield, and we shield up the foul play. They're still not swapping out. I'm nearly at 100 energy, so I do start throwing the crunches. We go for the first one. We get the defense drop once again. I did get very fortunate with my defense drops whilst running crunch, and we actually grab a shield there before they swap into Shadow Muck. So this might even be the same team as before. We go for Psychic Fangs, and we swap back into our Shadow Dusclops, and they do go for the Dark Pulse. We do just barely live that. We make it to an Ice Punch. Maybe I could have gone for 2 hexes there to give them less farm as they come in, but let's see. They come in with Ninetales. They only get off 1 Fire Spin anyway, so that's fine with me. We are going to wait out the switch clock, come in with my purified Machop here, and the opponent's over farming massively, so I'm just going to full send the return here, hoping they let this go through. But they do shield it up, which is unfortunate. We actually won the CMP tie there, which is good to know. They go for a Weather Ball bait, so I'm going to go for 1 Karate Chop, catch the charge move here onto my Lycanroc. But the opponent undercharges it. That gives them 1 extra Fire Spin, and now they barely outpace me to the charge move. So very nice undercharge there. Weather Ball is enough damage from this range to take up my Machop, and I do unfortunately lose that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Haxorus in the lead. Gonna stay in. This is a pretty good matchup. They could, of course, run Night Slash, but typically they're just gonna go for the Breaking Swipe to lower my attack. But the opponent's actually over farming quite a bit. This still isn't enough for an Earthquake, so I'm just going to let it go through. It's actually a Surf, so it's none of the charge moves that I just listed. But we're going to go for an Ice Punch here, grabbing the final shield from the opponent. At this point, I should be able to shield once and then get to 1 final Ice Punch before they get to the next charge move. They did debuff my attack, but it doesn't matter. Ice Punch will still be enough to take out the Haxorus, and they've got a second Dragon type in the back, so very interesting team here. No clue what they do up against a Grand Ball lead, but let's see. We're going to go and shield the Arquitel, over farm, not sure if a Psychic Fangs takes them out, so I just go for a crunch, guarantee the KO, and they've got Muck in the back, so I'm going to go for a Psychic Fangs here. Unfortunately, I don't think I've got enough health to make it to a second Psychic Fangs, which is actually quite bad because they get a massive farm down. But now I'm just going to force them to throw their energy into my Dusclops as I come back in with it here. They do throw pretty much straight away, and they go for the Dark Pulse there. That does take me out, but I should be able to make it to a cross chop to take them out. And if they're running Acid Spray, then I might actually just commit to the return here, and they are running Acid Spray, so that allows me to get to the return. This is massive overkill, so I'm actually going to fully undercharge it, but return takes out the Muck, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Shadow Dragonair in the lead, so pretty neutral matchup. Of course, we have Ice Punch, but these Dragon Breaths, look at the damage they're dealing. You can see my IVs on my Dusclops are not very good at all. I built this way before XL Pokemon were a thing, and I don't want to build another one, which is going to cost me like 500k Stardust, so that's why I've decided to just keep the one I've got. But we're going to swap into our Lycanroc, noticing that they would have easily Dragon Breath farmed me down, but now they swap into Muck, and you can see Lycanroc is just core breaking teams here. They've clearly got something in the back that does not do well up against Lycanroc whatsoever. And so we're going to go for another Psychic Fangs. It's a CMP tie, so that's absolutely fine with me. We're going to let this move go through. It's a Thunder Punch, and the opponent's choosing to let them get very low before I farm them, before they farm me down there. But that actually just plays into my hands because now I bank a charge move onto my Dusclops just in case I need it in the end game. And now I come in with my Machop, and we do get the farm down. They come back in with Dragonair. We make it to a Cross Chop before they get to a charge move here. Cross Chop takes them out, and they've got a Registeel in the back. So you can see Lycanroc did very well up against their backline, so it was a bit difficult for them to win this game anyways, but here they make it to a charge move, gonna shield this up, and even if they get the debuff, I don't really care. I'm gonna commit to the return, but the opponent just concedes the match there, and I'm able to take that game. Into the next battle, see another Umbreon in the lead. Gonna swap into my Lycanroc, and once again, this Umbreon is choosing to stay in. Gonna let the first charge move go through, and the opponent's actually running Dark Pulse, so that does quite a lot of damage before they swap into their Muck, and we should be able to make it to back-to-back Psychic Fangs, but if they want to, they should be able to shield here and then farm me down, so not the best case scenario here. I'm wondering if I want to maintain alignment here, or at least grab a final shield. But I'm thinking Machop has done pretty well in the end game, and with a shield advantage, it should be able to take the Ninetales, which I'm expecting in the back. So I'm going to come in with my Dusclops here, and we're going to go for the Ice Punch straight away, just guaranteeing we get rid of this Muck, and we do take them out there. They're going to wait at the switch clock, and I'm assuming it's going to be the Umbreon that comes back in. So we swap into Machop, but they've got a Shadow Hypno, and yeah, this is really bad for me. There's not a lot I could have done here. I should have fought for swap, but unfortunately I didn't. Return does big damage, but they get the Confusion Farm down, and I'm going to let this move go through. It isn't a Shadow Ball, so I will be able to Hex Farm them down here. We've got 2 shields remaining. Is there anything we can do to flip this matchup here? I doubt it, but I'm going to play it out anyways, just for the science, so we can see that if we're in a similar situation in the future that's maybe slightly better for us, then maybe it's worth seeing if we should play it out. We go for the Poltergeist. That actually does a lot of damage, but they still get the Snarl Farm down, and I do unfortunately lose that game. So just so you know, I wasn't wasting time there for my opponent. I wanted to see roughly how much damage I could deal in that matchup in case I was in a tricky situation like that in the future. But into the next battle, we see a Haxorus in the lead. The opponent swaps into Registeel, so I swap into my Machop. I'm going to shield this up. I'm actually not sure if we live a Zap Cannon from full health, so I will shield it up here. And I can farm to back cross chops before throwing, so even if they wanted to shield here, I'm still going to make it to another cross chop on the CMP tie, but the opponent does decide just to let the Registeel go down. They come in with Clefable. We've built up a ton of energy. We're going to go for the return here, and the opponent lets the return go through. It does big damage, and they overfarm in this matchup, allowing me to get to a cross chop. Cross chop takes out the Clefable. They're going to put both their shields into Haxorus coming back in, and at this point, I'm just going to let the Machop go down, and I'm actually just going to come in with my Lycanroc here. They're so low that I can shield this and just go for a full counter farm down. So they debuff my attack here. I don't know why I even go for a Psychic Fangs. It's going to make no difference here as we grab the shield, but we still get the counter farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Shadow Granbull in the lead. Now, I hate to see Shadow Granbull, but typically I do farm to back-to-back Ice Punches and throw them straight away here. But we're going to go for the first Ice Punch up against the Shadow Granbull. We grab the shield, but we actually didn't live that charm there, and what I found is that against almost every other Shadow Granbull, we did make it to back-to-back Ice Punches, so this one is clearly attack weighted. They then swap into a Shadow Hypno, and this is just not looking good. We do make it to a crunch, but this is not going to be enough damage to take them out here, so I'm actually not sure what I want to do in this situation, so I'm going to shield this up, and I don't really want to use my energy here. I kind of need to save it for that Granbull, so now I swap and catch the charge move onto my Machop. It is a Fire Punch, but we will be able to get the Karate Chop farm down. I'm hoping I make it to a cross chop in time. We do just barely get there, but this is still not going to be enough damage to take out the Granbull. But we get off one more Karate Chop. We can now take them out with a counter, but they've got a Donphan in the back. They had a shield anyways. There was basically nothing I could have done to win that game. But into the next battle, speaking of Donphan, we see it in the lead, and once again, this is going to be the home size Henry team. They swap into Muck. I'm going to go for an Ice Punch here. Just means that one Psychic Fangs will be enough damage to take them out. Now, we'll respect the damage here. It's just a Thunder Punch bait, which is unfortunate. But this should now just be another Thunder Punch, and it is, and now that allows me to overfarm in this matchup, and we're actually able to get a full counter farm down, come out with so much loaded energy. I don't expect a shield, so I'm going to go straight for a crunch, and the opponent doesn't even get the counter through, which is actually massive for me, as that allows me to get off a second crunch, which is really unfortunate for the opponent. But actually the counter didn't take me out, so I guess I still would have got off that charge move anyway, so it's not the worst case scenario for that opponent, but it's still a bit frustrating that I did deny them as they came in. But we go for an Ice Punch here. I know that there's no point shielding my Dusclops, as they do have an Umbreon, so I'm going to come in with my Machop here. And they do barely make it to a Body Slam, so I'm going to throw on the CMP tie. I do just barely win CMP up against Donphan, as I did check this whilst I was doing this battle. But we're going to find out if they're running Psychic or Last Resort. Probably Last Resort, as that's what Homesize Henry recommends on his team. But here I'm going to go for the return. This will be enough damage to take out the Umbreon, and I don't have another charge move loaded, but I will be able to live a Body Slam from this range, and that Karate Chop is enough damage to take out the Donphan, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.